In early 2026, a monumental release of U.S. Department of Justice documents thrust one of the most notorious criminal cases of the 21st century back into the global spotlight. Over 3 million pages of evidence tied to Jeffrey Epstein, the American financier and convicted sex offender, have now been made public under a law aimed at transparency. But for journalists, investigators, and the public, navigating this vast trove of material has proven overwhelming and opaque. The documents stem from the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed into law in late 2025, which mandated the release of all unclassified and consolidated records tied to Epstein and his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell. In total, the Justice Department identified roughly 6 million pages of evidence connected to investigations, financial records, emails, flight logs, and internal U.S. government correspondence, though only about 3.5 million pages have been published so far. These include email chains, text messages, interview summaries, financial ledgers, and thousands of images and videos. Rather than presenting a clean dossier, the release was published in 12 separate data sets, each categorizing different types of evidence, from interview records to seized digital materials. Jeffrey Epstein was born in Brooklyn in 1953 and, despite an unfinished college education, built a career on Wall Street before founding his own financial management firm. With significant wealth and powerful social connections, Epstein cultivated relationships with business leaders, politicians, celebrities, and royalty. Epstein became infamous for orchestrating a long-running sexual abuse and trafficking operation involving underage girls. Law enforcement first began investigating him in 2005, which led to a controversial non-prosecution agreement in 2008 that granted him broad immunity from federal charges. In 2019, renewed federal prosecutions led to Epstein's arrest on sex trafficking charges he never faced in trial due to his death by suicide in jail. Maxwell, his associate, was later convicted and sentenced to prison for her role in recruiting victims. The released files include FBI interview summaries and police reports from Florida investigations, private emails and correspondence between Epstein and high-profile figures, tens of thousands of images and videos seized from his properties, though many are heavily redacted to protect privacy, flight manifests and financial records that document movements of Epstein, associates, and aircraft used for travel to remote locations. Some materials remain controversial for privacy failures, including unredacted photos and victim names that were published before being retracted due to legal and ethical concerns. One of the central frustrations with the release is how difficult and disorganized the information has become. Rather than a curated, searchable record, many researchers describe the files as a chaotic dump of raw data, disjointed, poorly labeled, and psychologically overwhelming. This has led to a paradox. The law intended to increase transparency instead risks burying significant insights in a mountain of millions of scattered pages that even seasoned researchers struggle to parse. Digital platforms and independent trackers are attempting to map connections between names, flights, emails, and more, but this process is painstaking and ongoing. Names documented in the files range from royalty and politicians to tech magnates and cultural figures. Al Jazeera reporting notes that mentions in the files do not automatically imply wrongdoing, but they do highlight wide social interaction across elite networks. Among those referenced are former political leaders, business CEOs, and media personalities. Some figures, including foreign dignitaries and senior officials, have come under scrutiny from law enforcement agencies in their home countries following the release. The release has generated intense media coverage and public debate. Advocates call for greater independent review and oversight, arguing that justice for victims requires clarity and accountability, not confusion. Critics warn that poorly redacted or misclassified material can cause irreparable harm to privacy and reputations. Meanwhile, political and legal institutions are grappling with how to balance transparency with legal protections, even as public pressure mounts for accountability among powerful circles highlighted in the files. More than a decade after Jeffrey Epstein's death, the release of the Epstein files has reopened global scrutiny into the reach of his network and how institutions responded to it. Yet the files themselves, vast, fragmented, and often intimidating, raise questions about whether truth can ever fully emerge from such overwhelming data. As journalists, investigators, and independent researchers continue to sift through the material, the world watches to see whether transparency will lead to justice or merely more confusion.